All right, the reading for today has us in Numbers chapter 20. Moses erred at Kadesh. Then the children of Israel, the whole congregation, came into the wilderness of Zin in the first month, and the people stayed in Kadesh, and Miriam died there and was buried there. So that's Moses and Aaron's sister Miriam. She died. Now there was no water for the congregation, so they gathered together against Moses and Aaron. So think about this. Moses and Aaron had just experienced the death of their sister, and the congregation of Israel, instead of supporting them and grieving with them and encouraging them, decides it'd be a good time to complain about other things. Now there was no water for the congregation, so they gathered together against Moses and Aaron, and the people contended with Moses and spoke, saying, "If only we had died when our brethren died before the Lord. Why have you brought up the assembly of the Lord into this wilderness, that we and our animals should die here? And why have you made us come out of Egypt to bring us to this evil place? It is not a place of grain or figs or vines or pomegranates, nor is there any water to drink." So Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly to the door of the tabernacle of meeting, and they fell on their faces, and the glory of the Lord appeared to them. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Take the rod, you and your brother Aaron, gather the congregation together. Speak to the rock before their eyes, and it will yield its water. Thus you shall bring water for them out of the rock, and give drink to the congregation and their animals." So remember the instructions of God. Moses there were to take the rod, which represented that Moses is acting according to God. This was the rod that he used when they led out of Egypt, where he parted the Red Sea. And so it represents that, Moses isn't doing these things of his own power. God is with him. Sometimes it's called the rod of God or something, where it lets people know he's doing this on God's behalf. And he tells Moses to take the rod in his hand to symbolize that God is with him, but he tells Moses to speak to the rock. So that's important. So Moses took the rod from before the Lord as he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the assembly together before the rock. And he said to them, "Hear now, you rebels, must we bring water for you out of this rock?" So notice here that Moses is angry. Okay, he's just lost his sister. The congregation is complaining once again. Same complaints. "Why'd you bring us out here to die? There's no water." And so he pleads, God is going to give him the water, but you can tell that Moses is very agitated, calls them rebels, and says, "Must we bring water for you out of this rock?" So then Moses lifted his hand. What did God tell him to do? He told him to speak to the rock. But instead, then Moses lifted his hand and struck the rock twice with his rod, and water came out abundantly, and the congregation and their animals drank. So he didn't do what God said. God said, "Speak to the rock." He struck it twice with the rod. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, "Because you did not believe me to hallow me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this assembly into the land which I have given them." So what he's saying there is, you didn't do what I said. If you'd have done it the way that God wanted them to do it, God's telling them, if you'd have done what I said, then God would have got the glory. The people would have known it was God that provided the water, but by being disobedient and taking the rod, which represented God's presence, and beating on the rock twice, striking it twice, it's like he wanted the people of Israel to feel like he was in control, like he's the one that made the water come out. So God was very displeased. He's letting Aaron and Moses know here that they are going to die before the Israelites go into the promised land, that they're not going to be alive when the children go in, that he's not going to allow them to go. This was the water of Meribah, because the children of Israel contended with the Lord, and he was hallowed among them. He was glorified as holy. passage through Edom refused. Here in verse 14, now Moses sent messengers from Kadesh to the king of Edom. Thus says your brother Israel, you know all the hardship that has befallen us, how our fathers went down to Egypt, and we dwelt in Egypt a long time, and the Egyptians afflicted us and our fathers. When we cried out to the Lord, he heard our voice and sent the angel and brought us up out of Egypt. Now here we are in Kadesh, a city on the edge of your border. Please let us pass through your country. We will not pass through fields or vineyards, nor will we drink water from wells. We will go along the king's highway. We will not turn aside to the right hand or to the left until we have passed through your territory. So very pleasant offering from Moses. He's saying, hey, we're not going to be any burden to you. We're not any threat to you. Then Edom said to him, you shall not pass through my land, lest I come out against you with the sword. So the children of Israel said to him, we will go by the highway, and if I or my livestock drink any of your water, then I will pay for it. Let me only pass through on foot, nothing more. Then he said, you shall not pass through. So Edom came out against them with many men and with a strong hand. Thus Edom refused to give Israel passage through his territory, so Israel turned away from him. Now the children of Israel, the whole congregation, journeyed from Kadesh and came to Mount Or. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron in Mount Or by the border of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron shall be gathered to his people, for he shall not enter the land which I have given to the children of Israel, because you rebelled against my word at the water of Meribah. So there, he's making it clear that Aaron's going to die, and he puts it on what Moses did. And so it just again ties, Moses and Aaron are tied together. So he's letting them know that Aaron is going to die soon. Take Aaron and Eleazar his son and bring them up to Mount Or, and strip Aaron of his garments and put them on Eleazar his son, for Aaron shall be gathered to his people and die there. So the priesthood is being passed down from Aaron to his son Eleazar. So Moses did just as the Lord commanded, and they went up to Mount Or in the sight of all the congregation. Moses stripped Aaron of his garments and put them on Eleazar his son, and Aaron died there on the top of the mountain. Then Moses and Eleazar came down from the mountain. Now when all the congregation saw that Aaron was dead, all the house of Israel mourned for Aaron 30 days. So in this chapter 20, we have the death of both Miriam and Aaron. So now Moses is the only sibling left. And it's good they at least respected the death of Aaron. Wish they would have done that for Miriam also. But they mourn with Moses for his brother Aaron.